Yo, he's the real estate kingpin, dropping some truth. Got the listings and the deals, and it's real estate proof. Selling houses left and right, showing homes day and night. Under the big dollar sky, negotiate like a boss, never take no for an answer. Charisma, style, and the ultimate swagger. Got my clients to check from first-time buyers to pros. I'm the agent they trust, yeah, that's how it goes.
All right, we've got another episode here of the Red Mic Podcast. And today I've got a very special guest, Dustin Gutowski.
Close enough. I've been called way worse, so it'll work.
Which he actually runs a very successful roofing company here in Dallas. And it is, I think your guys that were in here were telling me it's top 4 in Dallas or something?
Yeah, a lot of roofer bros lie about their numbers.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does the top of anything mean?
It's like the people that do our orders, they're like, you guys are top 5 residential re-roofs. So I don't know what that means, but it feels good. So I'd say one of the top.
So let's start from the beginning. Results Roofing comes in 4.5 years ago.
Yep.
What were you doing prior, and why did you decide to start a roofing business?
So I was in the fitness industry. So I was running health clubs. I had like 30 gyms I was running.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was
the good old days.
Corporate ladder, yeah. So I'd worked in the health club since I was 19 till I was 35. And I just thought that's all I was going to do.
What was the name of those companies?
So I started at 24 Hour Fitness, worked at Fitness Connection. There was a Texas Family Fitness here and Crunch. And the last gig was in Michigan is where I was at. And I just thought it was all I was going to do. And right before we moved, we had the horror story. We got ripped off by a roofer. And that we did. So,
I'm gonna turn this business around.
Yeah. And it irritated me, but I didn't know. And I was like, this is crazy. And then we got ripped. We were going into business to open a restaurant, and we got ripped off by another contractor. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And so when I started looking stuff up, I was like, there's no protection for consumers. There's like really at all. The only reason I was able to do anything to the contractor for the restaurant was he gave me a check and it bounced. And so they didn't even press charges on him for anything but a hot check, which I guess in its own is right. I received of the 18,000, I think it was, or 20,000, I received like $160 in probation.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
All that time and effort.
And then
Buy yourself a dinner.
Exactly. And it came in like 3 payments. It was like the probation thing. So it was like $50 here, $60 random in the mail. And I was like, what is this? And I haven't seen anything since.
So that's what inspired you to then go into roofing yourself and change this industry.
Because when we sold our home, moved to Michigan, when we moved, we had to get a roof, and we got our first check. They're like, oh, that's a deposit. Okay, it makes sense, right? If I do work on a home, they usually give a deposit. So I did. Never heard from them again. And I was like, wow, man, I got again. So I was like, it was just in the back of my mind, like, this is a wild, wild west. It's not regulated. There's no license. It's crazy.
And there's also just about a roofer on every corner of this area that we live in. I mean, the roofing companies, we obviously owning a brokerage, I get reached out to by so many different vendors and people all the time. And roofing is probably one of the more aggressive ones.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to you.
Yeah.
You didn't reach out to me about you coming to my business because I started following you online. And I liked a lot of the things that you were doing. And then I actually saw that you were a roofing company. So then I told my wife, I was like, we should reach out to them and maybe have them as like come out and meet the agents, maybe sponsor a meeting or something. And then that's how, kind of we all connected here. But I was impressed by, number one, how successful you've turned a business around in 4 years. We were just talking about it at the sales meeting here. Like we've been open for about 1.5 years now. And if the numbers go the way we want them to go here in the next 7-8 months, we could be a top 10 brokerage in DFW in a 24-month period. Now that's extremely hard to do.
Yeah.
There's just like roofing, there's a broker on every corner. I mean, seriously, there's so many brokerages out there that are these tiny little, we're doing it different for this reason, and we're doing it different for this reason, and all that. So you can, I think most of it is all just service related. Are you taking care of your agents? Are you taking care of your sales people? Are y'all having enough business? All that kind of stuff is important when you're an entrepreneur. And, so I like that about you. And that's why I had you come on today. The other thing that got me, though, that I wanted to kind of touch on was the stuff that you talk about on your socials about faith.
Yep.
I know you have a wife and kids. How many kids do you have?
3.
Okay, so we have 3 as well. So faith and, keeping these kids in line for what we want to instill in them as they move forward. Like, so we'll talk about this later, but one of our favorite podcasters that you and I have talked about is like very in line with that same kind of rationale. And it's tough these days because the kids are influenced by so many different ways. And I'm not going to turn this podcast into how to raise your children, but I will say that we were in line with that.
It's important.
Yeah.
So it's so important how you raise them. And it doesn't, I want to raise my kids and I don't want to tell people how to raise their kids. And it was crazy, like, not to turn it into that, but I've gotten asked the shirt, like, what happens if your son comes home and he tells you he's gay? And I go, what do you mean? I'm going to be his biggest fan. They're like, well, what if he doesn't play sports? I go, if he's in ballet, I'm going to tailgate the ballet and be their front row. Like, what are we talking about? This is my kid. Like, I can't believe we're even having this discussion, right? Like, it's
100%.
It's wild to me. And I feel like we've gotten so far out of balance because there's not morals anymore. It's that you think about, you care more about yourself and your ego and your pride than what makes your child happy. Like, that's crazy to me.
It's tough.
It is.
A lot of the stuff that we're dealing with now, like you and I when we were kids, and Trey's probably somewhere in between us as far as age goes. But I mean, the stuff that they're dealing with now are not things we dealt with when we were kids. No. And it's tough because, like they're experiencing things that we don't really have like great experience with ourselves. So we're kind of like learning it all with them as well. And you're doing the best to navigate them through this path of what their little young minds are dealing with. And it's hard.
Yeah, it's different. It's like even my son, he's just turned 7 yesterday. He's playing Roblox. And he's like, I hear him yelling at someone the other day. I'm like, man, who are you talking to? And he's like, this guy's trying to scam me on Roblox. I'm like, wait, what? But
my daughter loves that.
He was saying mean things, and he's saying mean things to me. And I'm like, when I was 7, we didn't even have to worry about that. It was in school, right? But when you came home, it's what it was. But I'm like, well, it's online. Like, you just have to watch, right? We didn't have that.
Yeah.
So it is crazy.
Yeah, I think the online world has its place. But, we were talking about this the other day. Just my wife and some of our friends that live in the area, and we were just talking about how like the online exposure has its place, like you can't get away from it, but I think it has to be curbed in a very significant way for these kids that are young, because guiding them in the wrong direction online is very simple. It's very easy. Yeah. There's a lot of things in place online that are designed to do that. For us, like if they're going on social media and they're 10 years old, all they're seeing is things that in essence are moving them in a direction that they want the viewers to be moved. And then, like our kids will ask us questions about a lot of this stuff online and we're kind of like, well, there's a reason for what you're seeing, And
Dustin, how old are your kids?
7, 4, and almost 2.
So you have 2 teenagers as well. How do you monitor their online presence as teenagers?
It's harder as the teenagers.
Yeah, I can imagine teenagers,
because we have to put like, my wife was doing this for a while and it kind of went by the wayside, which I think we probably need to implement back, but there was a timer on how much they could be on social media for their phones for the day. I want to say it was an hour and a half or something like that. And then that came into like, they would come and spend more time with us, but they were always like, what can we do to get more time for social media?
Yeah.
They want that drug. What if I take the trash out? 20 more minutes?
Yeah. But it's to me, I probably get a lot of flack for it. People are like, why do you let your 7-year-old on there so much? But I'm like, okay, it's that PlayStation. And what's the difference, right?
No, I mean,
watching TV.
Probably the online gaming aspect of it is just as bad because these kids that are on the other end of it are yelling and screaming and cussing and racial slurs and all kinds of
wild.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that stuff. And there's so many funny things online, where you hear like the moms putting their ear next to the door and they hear their like kids screaming.
Yeah, I didn't even know he knew that word. I've had some words come out. I'm like, oh my God.
And I mean, there's none of it's going away.
Yeah.
So we all have to navigate it as good as we can. But I wanted to talk to you about one of the favorite things that I've ever seen somebody like you you have a good podcast, but you're not the Joe Rogan podcast. You're not these gigantic podcast things that you can see where people have millions and millions of views on every podcast that they do. But you had Patrick David on your podcast. Yeah. And if I ever was to pick my favorite person to listen to, which I do almost pretty much every time he has one, I listen to it while I'm working out, or if I'm driving, I'll just put his podcast on. And I would I would absolutely love to meet him in person. And I know he's in Florida, so anytime he comes to Dallas, I'm always like, where's he going to be? No, I'm not that bad.
He's a good dude. But he's actually lived in Dallas for a while.
Yeah, he told me that, or he said that on his podcast, and he said that his insurance company was here at one point, right? Because he sold that, and they sold it for billions or something.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know Tom was actually on that company with him.
Yeah, so I'm actually having Tom on as well. So the insurance agency they owned, and Tom flies in probably 2 times a month, at least once a month. It's like 1.1 mile from our office is their office. So I'm having Tom on. BizDoc's amazing, but Patrick is, man, he's a good dude. My story with Patrick was kind of similar. I don't follow these gurus. Like I'm so anti the guru, the online stuff, because I think a lot of it's so fake. People are just phony. You can be whoever you want on there, and I think I don't like that. Like, be authentic. And these guys are just pretending to be someone they're not. They're selling you a course. And I didn't know Patrick. I didn't talk to him. I didn't know anything about him. And actually, my business partner was like, man, you got to listen to this guy. He's really good. And I'm like, man, whatever. He's just trying to sell you another coaching program, right? And he sent me a couple of his clips. I was like, wow, he's pretty good. Like, I like what he's doing. And so we went to a one of his events. It was like, I won't go to like some big mastermind. I just not my thing. But we went to this one. It was like more personal. I think there was 20 people there. It was like training, and the stuff he was saying, it was anything I learned new, but it was stuff that I believed in. So I was like, wow, man, this guy's legit. But before I even went, I did a bunch of research on him, and I was like, this guy's all about his family. He's all about his kids. He's about his faith. And I've never met a guy that's a bad dad that's a good person. So to me, if you're a bad dad, you cannot be in my circle. Like, I refuse. I will cut friends off so quick. It's the number one thing. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what you accomplish. But if you're a bad dad, you're out. And he's just a great dad. And that was cool to me. And he was like, to stand up for what you believe in, whether you believe in it or not, I think is admirable, because there's 2 sides of that. And, so ironically, I met him that night, and we ended up hanging out. He had the little after thing, cigar.
Wasn't it an MMA fight that y'all met?
Well, no. So that was before, but then we go to this fight. My business partner and one of my best friends is Kevin Holland. He's fighting. I think he was the co-main on that card. He might have been the third, but he's obviously a huge fight. It's down in Miami. And I was like, yeah, we're going to the fights tomorrow. He's like, oh, we're going too. And I don't know if they didn't think that we weren't sitting close, but I think we were either first or second row, all of us. We show up to the fight, and they're literally sitting next to us.
That's awesome.
And he was like, is this fake? That's what we thought. We're like, this sitting next to us. So we started talking, and he actually ended up spending more time with my wife. I think he was asking my wife questions to see what I was about. And then it just kind of went from that, and it developed into a friendship and a relationship. And then he came out with the Manect app. And
so that's one thing I was going to say. Did he create that app, or was that something he just
he created?
Got into the company or something with it?
No, he created it completely.
It was a great idea.
Huge, yeah. It was like Cameo, but better.
Yeah, Cameo's like they do like a little 5-minute blip or something, 5-second blip or something. You pay whatever. I've used it. I actually joined it myself. I've had a few Manects. I think
you joined Cameo?
No.
Oh,
it's in essence more of a text, questions, talk to text questions. You can book a video, you can book a phone call, but obviously, the prices get higher and higher the more you want more exposure. So,
but this is for like
celebrities,
motivational speak. Okay,
it's like celebrities. I'm not a celebrity, but like celebrities or people that are in a specific field.
Okay,
or like for me, I came on as like a professional for real estate.
Okay,
Dustin came on, but I think yours was saying that you're like also like personality stuff.
Yeah,
right?
it started
motivational speaking.
Things like that.
And I don't do any of that stuff. By the way, like we had to speak in front of like 1,000 people recently, and I was like, they're like, oh, you killed that. I was like, hey man, I almost passed out.
Yeah,
I don't like doing that stuff.
Yeah,
it's something that you do to get over it. I don't mind it. I do it every day, but it's funny. It's actually one of my biggest fears, but I guess it's something I've developed to be good at.
It's a learned skill.
It is.
It's a very hard skill, and I've actually, same as you, like it's taken me a little while to kind of get through like the icebreaker, like make it to where like at some point you feel a little bit more comfortable, but it's never comfortable.
No,
you're never walking into one of these things and be like, oh, I can't wait to talk in front of all these people.
Yeah, especially, I mean, look, just for you say not celebrity, but this is like celebrity vibes. I walked in, I was like, am I in the right place?
No, yeah.
Because the energy really, it was great. Credit to you guys, man.
Well, that was the idea behind opening this brokerage. Like, you know, the problem that we have in the real estate world right now is a lot of these brokerages. We were talking about one earlier that you said you didn't like, and I agreed with you, right?
Can't stand them.
Yeah, so we're not going to say the name, but I will say that when you look at this on a localized level for us, what we were missing in the real estate brokerage world was a collaboration and a office feel that felt more personal.
Yeah.
Because the brokerage that we came from had about 1,000 agents or 800 agents in it. So obviously, you know that when you're in that kind of situation, you're in a situation of just being a number. Even though we were on top 5 team in that brokerage, like we still felt like, I mean, we have what we have and we do what we do, but there was never anything like, you know, everybody, let's get up, you know, let's get the team together and let's all figure out how we're going to do this, you know, thing coming up. It was more like, call us if you need us.
Yeah,
you know.
of course. Yeah.
So for us, we wanted to make this where like everybody we bring on the brokerage was going to be somebody who enjoyed an office feel, but also wanted to collaborate with agents. And if you walked in here as an agent, you know everybody's name when you come in here, even though we have almost 50 agents. So that's a pretty rare thing. And
how did you, and get off not to real estate, but the business in general? Now I'm asking questions. Sorry, it's just my nature, but I love this because I think it's people can learn from it, not just real estate. But I walked in, I deal with a ton of realtors, right? I literally texted my team and I was like, man, these dudes are doing it right, because you could feel the energy unannounced, right? You could see like people were having a good time. They were smiling, laughing.
Right.
The vibes were great. I was like, this is awesome. And your vibes attract your tribe, right? So you say, so how did you do it differently? Because everybody says, I want to do it differently, but then they end up doing the same thing. So what did you do to do it differently and attract those people here?
I think the biggest thing for us to even try to do something like this was the agency caught us at the right time, because we were kind of like, I never went into the office at the place I worked at. If you have your stuff dialed in real estate, you don't have to go to an office. You can just sell houses and you can do your thing. And that's pretty much what we were doing. But I told my wife, like, you know, I told her multiple times, I was like, I mean, it was sold to us, the previous brokerage was sold to us as a small collaborative office. And it turned into a corporate behemoth, you know, over the 5 years or 6 years that we were there. So I told her, I was like, well, it's, you know, it is what it is. They changed. They got corporate. They're publicly traded now. That's all that matters anymore. So the agency reached out to us. I think it was September of 2022, I want to say. And he had called me a few times and I kind of just put it off. But my wife was in the room this time when he called me, and we were actually in Florida on vacation. And he goes, hey, I'm from the agency and I wanted to get back in touch with you about opening the franchise. And my wife was like, I was about to say, dude, not right now. I'm in Florida.
I love my wife and I'm on vacation. Stop trying to ruin it.
But she's like, let him talk. Let's hear what he has to say. So it kind of was a fit for what we were looking for, but I would never have opened a brokerage that would have just been like Damon Williamson brokerage.
Yeah.
You know, just, it doesn't make sense for a lot of people to come in and join that. I mean, I do a lot of volume. I do a lot of business, but that's a part of it. The other part is people want a little bit of legitimacy that's backing them in a brokerage, because they want to be able to walk into a new listing appointment or a buyer for the first time and say, I'm a good agent, but I also have this that I'm working behind, which is the agency. The agency is such a good marketing company that they give us a lot of tools that we wouldn't have when we were with another brokerage. So that was the other piece of the pie. My wife is amazing at marketing, and this is a big part of why she was like, no, they're beautiful, like online, and I can take that and I can take it to the next level, and she has. And so the sales side and everything that we do is just recruiting agents that we think are like good agents already. Yeah. Like, we're not looking for brand new agents. Trey was actually a brand new agent when he came over, and then he was in the top 5 last month for sales.
That's awesome.
So he joined my team, and like within 12 months of him learning, hustling, he's one of the few agents that I think, you know, you take the time and you really nurture what they need and want, and then they can scale it. And Trey's obviously one of these very personable people. So he's not like some dude that just rolled out of bed one day and was like, I've got nothing better to do in my life.
Be an agent. That's actually how it happens.
Kinda. Yeah.
No, Trey has an entire whole world outside of the real estate world. He owns a very successful bar in Dallas. He's been on reality TV. He's got friends in high places. The agency for him was, I think, something where it was like a new, exciting idea, if I'm not mistaken.
He's awesome, man. Congrats.
Yeah, and he's doing great. So anyways, long story short, I think we found the right niche of what we wanted, and then we've been taking that for the last 18 months to really grow it to where we're getting the type of people that we want, but also getting the volume that we need for it all to make sense. And like you said, when you come in, like your guys were here earlier, they saw everything happening and they spoke at the meeting with us, and it was great, like because everybody who comes into these meetings is like, I never had this at my brokerage. I never had this before. I've never seen this before. The title people were telling us that before they left. We just added a title partner, and they were like, never seen that before. Yeah. Like, most of the time sales meetings are very boring, very mundane. Few people attend. And, like we get 80% attendance.
So these are great. We got themes. I wore a wetsuit today.
Yeah, that was a missed.
Was that scuba theme?
That was
awesome.
That was a missed opportunity. We should have had you start with that, then go change and resume because you got
we'll wear that on the podcast.
Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you, Dustin, just kind of talking about how the agency is smaller, more of a boutique brokerage. You've taken this business and now you have over 100 sales agents. So how do you, and you've grown this very quickly, how do you still keep that boutique feel when you have so many employees?
It's one, we have a chat, right?
Yeah.
And people will say it's the most active chat you've ever seen, but I'm on it all day. And I think it makes it more intimate because I'm on there too. Because if I'm not doing it, how can I tell other people to do it, right? And it's
lead by example.
Exactly. And I was telling someone today, he sent me a message. He's like, hey, with all the stuff you have going on, how do you still manage to stem this or that? And I was like, man, you're never too busy to care. And I really genuinely care. And I think for me, I came from the rough childhood, homeless at 14, the trailer park, mom's literally a crackhead, don't know my dad. And it's like, I've been blessed with so many opportunities, whoever you want to believe in, but somebody blessed me with these opportunities. And I'm like, why would I not take advantage of them? And then, so it was kind of to create this place where I didn't care where you came from, man. Like, I didn't care what walks of life. If you're a good person, let's grow together and figure it out. And I'm involved in it and I care, but we do the same thing. Like, we have the meetings, we set them up and we have guest speakers. We'll have even celebrities, right? Like, we've had, what was the last, we had Kevin Holland attend one. We had Terrence McKinney, we had Derek Faye. We've had, multiple, we've had this guys like Mr. Olympia in the wheelchair.
Ronnie Coleman.
It wasn't Ronnie, it was another one.
He wanted Flex Wheeler.
Yeah, one of those guys we had, just to come in, and it's the same thing. Like, we do legitimate, and we put thought into it. It's not just a sales meeting. And I think what separates it is we don't just talk about sales. It's never just about your numbers. It's like what you're going through in life, right? Like, typically what I found is most people don't fail at work because they suck at work or they don't have the skills. It's because they're going through something personally, professionally, and it's my job to coach them through that. And I used to think it was a burden, and now I think it was my gift, is that I'm able to take everyone's crap. I could take it all day, but still, if you call me and I just heard the worst news, I can shake it off and talk to you and walk you through your problems.
Yeah.
And
that's a gift.
It is.
Yeah. But I used to think it was a burden because I'd be like, wow, how dare you call me with your BS,
Yeah.
And I was almost entitled. And I'm like, wow, look, man, you talk about faith. It's like God put me through all this stuff when I was a young age. Maybe because I could handle it. Maybe it's what I need to go through, whatever it was. But I know now, and I get really frustrated when we talk about faith. I get tired of people like, well, it's in God's hands. And I'm like, hey, he already gave you the opportunity. What more do you want?
Yeah.
It's not his hands. It's in yours. You're waiting for, he's already given you this opportunity. And for me, I just don't want to waste it. And I don't want to see others around me waste it. And so I'm like, I went through all this. And then now someone's calling me because of all the people in the world they could have called. They called me. And I'm going to feel entitled.
That's I think the thing that you really, I'm glad you realize that, because if people aren't reaching out to random people just to tell them their problems, they're talking to people that they think can help them with their problems.
Exactly. And we do the events, like we do UFC events. We do, I still have people over at my house, and it's, we do a workout group every morning. There's about 12 of us. We work out in my garage, and it's like, I don't think it's a big deal. But people were like, hey, you're the CEO. Like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, what? Chris was
That's the craziest thing to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of the most successful people I know are so heavily integrated in their business.
Yes.
But then you have those CEOs that have that CEO mentality, and I'm here and you're here.
Exactly.
And that's where you see the failure slip into the gap.
Well, you run yours the exact same way.
Yeah.
Nobody, you don't let anybody talk to you. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah. Don't call
fake on that.
Trey's extremely hands-on.
No, but I actually just at my bar, I had a manager resign, and me and my business partner, she wanted to hire a new manager. I was like, I kind of want to do this role for a month. Like, I really want to fully understand what this role is before I ask someone else to do it again.
Absolutely. Right.
And so add one more thing to the plate, but I'm like, I want to know how to do this, because when you're disconnected from your business, you're disconnected from all of it. You don't know what's going on.
But you're big in customers and big in like keeping the people that are
The relational side. Yeah,
exactly. And that's a huge part of that situation. Like, people want to see the people that are running it be there. Like, they don't like it when somebody's just like, call me if you need me. I'm going to be, wherever for a month.
Yeah.
And this is why something like this works. It's why something like this works for you, for your business. This is why it works good for you. People don't want to come up to an office, for example, like this, and nobody's there.
Exactly. No, that happens
the
a lot.
owners, like I sit out there, my sales manager sits out there, Trey's here 4 days a week. I've got another handful of agents that are like, if they're not selling real estate, they're here at the office. And then you have everybody else sprinkle in as they have time with their stuff. Same with you, like with that group chat that you have, we have something similar. It's workplace. Everybody's like, we're constantly on it. Making sure people are like, we have all this going on. This is what's going on. Who needs help here? Who needs help here? And it works. And people feel like it is more of a family than anything else.
I was on a roller coaster the other day. When I say the other day, it's months ago, but it was 6 months, whatever.
2 years ago. Yeah. A roller coaster.
I was on a roller coaster at Disney. It was my kid's birthday, and guy called me, and I answered. It was like a little small one, and he's like asking me a question. It's a sales rep. It's not even like one of our team leads or our leaders. Just after sales rep. He's like, where are you at? I was like, I'm at Disney. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm on a roller coaster. He's like, did you just answer the phone? I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were out of town. I was like, hey man, you called me for a reason. But my wife understands too. It's like, look, we wouldn't have this life, and if there is no off switch, just like I don't ever stop being a father. Babe, if you called me, if one of our kids called me and I can answer, I'm going to answer. I don't ever stop being a father. And you said something about the relation. I can't remember, but when I opened results, I said, we're going to be relational, not transactional.
Yep.
Do everything for the relationship, right? If you value the relationship, it'll win in the end, even if you get screwed over, because givers rule the world. And if you give to givers, they'll want to outgive you, right? Mm-hmm. And the other thing for me was, I literally fundamentally believe this, and sometimes it's an insecurity, but I think I work for everybody at Results Roofing. They don't work for me.
Yeah.
And I take it like, I actually get like when somebody leaves, I'm like, man, what could I have done better?
Oh yeah, you have to take it personally.
I do. And then people are like, don't take it personal. I'm like, but it is though. Like, how could you not? I started the thing. I do take it personal, right?
No, it's the same. I mean,
it's tough.
But I think at some point, sometime, there's going to be, and one thing that I think you probably realize this now, maybe that you didn't when you started it, but when people see like really successful companies, what do you think they're doing? They're not being like, oh man, Dustin's got his stuff together, he's great. They're like, I'm going to steal some of his people. Yeah. They want to take what they see as a successful story and make it their own, and at the expense sometimes of the other companies.
Yeah.
And sometimes people buy into it. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can make a call to them and they'd be like, dude, you're calling the wrong person, man. I'm in where I am. But you also have, maybe I'll take that meeting.
We have we have a whole Results Roofing minor league team out there that like, this is exactly what happens. Some person can't, because we have a standard. Like, I don't care if we're a roofing company, we have a standard, like how you conduct yourself. Like, if you're a bad father, you can't be in my organization. I don't care if it's difficult, because no different than, real estate, it's a lot of 1099, right? So you can hire anyone you want. And
that's right.
Sometimes you take a chance on someone. But for me, if someone is going to be a jerk off, I'm like, if you're going to treat your own kid that way, you couldn't be there for the one person that needs you the most.
Right.
You're never going to be there for anyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm out. We have a standard though, like how you conduct yourself. If you give me your word, like, I'm going to take it. And so look, you have the right to choose anywhere you want to work, but we also have the right to hire whoever we want. So we're not just a roofing company that does that. It's like brand, it's integrity, and it's hold yourself to a standard. I was literally, every year I do a slogan, right? And it was, it's like, last year it was just work, but this year it was standard. And it was like, what is your standard like every single day when you get up? Like, it's a non-negotiable, and we hold ourselves to that. Now, if you tell me I want to work 3 days a week and I want to make $40,000, I'm going to hold you to that, right? But if you tell me you want to change your life, then I'm going to hold you to that. And it's accountability at Results Roofing. So it's just, I think it's, it's not just this, let's have another roofing company, let's hire every Chuck in the truck, let's do all that.
That's exactly what it is too, because you see that so much in a lot of these companies. They're just like, well, you know what? If we hire somebody that wants to go out there and sell roofs, maybe they get a few.
Exactly.
But you really do want quality over quantity in a lot of these situations, and that's kind of what we focused on, because I get reached out to probably 5 or 6 times a week from agents that just got their license, or agents that have zero production, but they're looking at somebody that has a good brand to sign on. And we just aren't set up for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We want to help agents that have already got a pretty decent business and take them to the next level. Trey was an exception because, Trey's Trey. He's like,
Superstar's gonna superstar, right?
he came in and impressed us at the meeting. Well, I don't even know why we took that meeting. No, just kidding. He knows a few people that work too, and it was kind of like one of those warm welcomes.
Awesome.
But going back to Patrick Bet David, one of the things he says that we were just discussing was, when people say like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm gonna work less. It's more like you were working as this here, and now it's going to be this.
Yeah.
Because you can never stop working on your business when you are the owner.
It doesn't stop.
And that's when you said your wife understands it. Similar story. I was on a ski lift closing a deal one time.
Yeah.
I was literally on the ski lift about to get off, and I'm like, give me 30 seconds. I'm about to come off the ski lift. And that was negotiating a deal, like in a very busy market. You can't take that time.
Yeah.
I'm out of town for 5 days. Call you then. They'll be like, I'll find another realtor.
Exactly.
I mean, that kind of stuff, you just have to roll with it, and the spouses are either in or they're out.
Yeah, and opportunities not lost is just given to someone else, and if you don't take advantage of it, somebody else will. And it wasn't always like that. Like early on, it was like, oh, you don't care about me, right? And it's just like part of any relationship you got to discuss. And I was like, listen, I love you more than anything in the world. Like, you're the mother of my child, because it's the one. But if you won't allow me to chase my goals and dreams, I'm never going to be able to be the husband for you and the father. And so, look, if we go on this vacation, then I might have to answer a phone call. But guess what? There might be a day where I get to go home early. You just don't know. But
sure.
You can't take the good of, we can go do this, but then decide which the
we can afford to do this, but then I can't work the whole time. Those two things just don't typically go hand in hand.
They don't go hand in hand. It doesn't stop. And I love the fact that people, like, the bigger you get, the easier it is. You have all these people. I'm like,
it's harder.
It's way harder. It's way worse because
more people to help.
Exactly.
But you have to do it.
Exactly. And they have more problems. It's like the larger you grow and the more talented you get, the more problems they have and the more they think they're right. Because you take this guy who's been doing real estate for 10 years, in his mind, he's right. And maybe he is, but you just do it differently. And so a lot of these guys come at us like, you're right, I'm wrong, or vice versa. And I'm like, no, man, we're just different. Like, this is the way that we've done it, and it's had success for us, but they want to
trust the
come at
process.
us. Yeah. And so we actually stay away from, we're the almost not complete opposite, but we stay away from roofer bros. That's what we call them. Roofer bros. We don't like the bros because they're just like, they know the way to do it. And if now there's a few people that will hire from other companies, but very rarely does another roofer bro come over to our organization and have success, because they just have bad habits and bad tendencies, and a lot of them don't have the ego to let go. So we take like attitude, like someone that's energetic, that's ready to go, and we want to train them up because we have such a good group. But so it's almost the opposite approach, because of we're trying to clean up an industry, and so a lot of the industry is just, it's bad, man. It's crazy.
I like how you said it was the wild, wild west, because that's pretty much the experience that I've had with a lot of roofing companies over the years. Is like, they talk a big game, they don't deliver. Yeah. The people that they hire that come out to some of these appointments aren't professional.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're just trying to sell that roof.
Yeah.
And then that turns off the clients that we referred out, and that situation never works out good for either party. Mm-hmm. Look, man, great podcast. I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is one of the things that I like to do, just spare time fun. We've taken it to a fairly serious level. Trey out here, but it's one of those things where it's fun to talk to people. It's fun to have like these conversations, because you sit down for somebody with an hour and you learn a lot.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate you guys having me.
Well, how can people get a hold of you for anything roofing needs?
Dustin Gutowski is the easiest way. I think there's only one. Actually, someone made a fake account the other day, so there's that. But
you made it.
That's what someone said. I'm like, no, it's annoying. Like, they're posting my stuff. It's crazy. They're just resharing. But I'm like, somebody was like, is this you? I go, yeah, man. I just made the same profile post, the same stuff double with 8 friends.
I got
totally me.
I did it for fun.
Exactly. It's Dustin Gutowski, but it's on Facebook, IG is the easiest way to find me, or Results Roofing. You can as well if you need help with anything. And to touch on what you said, we literally dealt with this yesterday about an agent that has sent another company out, sent a second company, and they had this poor homeowner twist because they didn't know what to do, and they're trying to close, right? And they were in a situation, unfortunately, where it was a money to sell quick, right? And people are telling them they need the roof replaced, and it's like they're not gonna be able to close without it. And I'm like, got there, and I'm like, man, are you sure this is the right address? And they're like, yeah. I go, there's nothing wrong with this roof. I go, did you tell these roofers you were closing? They go, yeah. I go, did you tell them you were closing quickly and it had to be done? They're like, yeah. I go, there's your problem. I go, there's literally nothing here. But I'm like, this poor homeowner scared. The realtor's trying to get a deal. And I'm like, look, call us. Our job is to help the buyers buy and the seller sell. Like, I don't care about anything else. I don't care if I don't get a deal. They're like, it's not about that because it all come back. And the story I'll edit on for real estate is for anybody. I had a lady one time, she called me up and was like, hey, she's buying this home, single mom, school teacher, whole nine. She's like, she just got a divorce. We go check the house. Does it need replaced? No, it's fine. Like, just a few repairs. So I do the repair. It was like $500-600. The realtor called me, goes, send me the invoice. I'm going to pay for it. And I was like, why? She goes, she has no money. Like, she just, and I go, don't worry about it. I got it.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I said, so you don't think anything happened? So this guy calls me like 2 weeks later, real deep voice. Hey, Dustin, this is so-and-so. You fixed my daughter's roof. You need to call me back ASAP. And I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? You know, like, I messed up this roof. This is it. This company's going under. We had to start. Called me up. He said, hey, you helped out my daughter. Why'd you do that? And I was like, oh, sorry, sir. Just started. He goes, no. He goes, can you come check out my house? I said, yeah, not a problem. He sends me the address. I don't look it up. I just show up. I show up to, it was a house over there in South Lake, Colleyville area, gated community.
Amazing.
It all comes back. Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what? And we had just started our company. I'm dead broke. I can't even buy dinner for my family, really. And that literally, it was him. He gave us his brother. He gave us a dude in his neighborhood. Changed the landscape of our company because you go do the right thing, right? Through realtors. And it's like, if you do, it'll always come back.
It happens for a reason.
Isn't that being a good person is how you're successful? That's 100%. Like,
it's the key.
There's no crazy roadmap. No. It's very simple.
People feed off of it too.
Yes.
Yep.
People love seeing somebody take care of somebody else.
Yep.
And in these situations, doing the right thing is 100% residual.
100%. Because you probably had so many people screw you over.
Well, think about all the good things people say about you if they talk about what their experience was.
Yep. Exactly. But
then that feeds.
I think good people, though, you've probably been screwed over a lot as a business owner. No different than I have, right? People in general. But you can see through BS like that. Like me, it's like, 100%. Dude, I can see through your BS quickly. So good people know other good people, and typically good people are successful. Exactly. Yep. They only want to hang out with good people, and they want to help each other out. And there's really no agenda. It's just like, if you need something, call me. So it does all come back.
I did an interview maybe 6 months ago with this celebrity hairdresser named Justin Anderson on my other podcast, and he was talking about how these agents would send him different celebrities that were up and coming, and there were two in particular. And one of them, he said, this girl will never be successful because she is an absolute nightmare in my chair. He said this other one was already very successful, and he was like, I won't give you up her name, but she was a very successful talk show host, blonde, short hair, daytime, 3 o'clock on TV.
Things are not good.
She was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And he called her agent back and said, I will never work with this girl again, and I guarantee you she'll be gone the next 2 years. And sure enough, her talk show is no longer on, and Kelly Clarkson has her spot.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dustin, for sharing good in the world and taking care of people and helping out our clients and others. And
we're looking forward to a long-term relationship with you guys. We appreciate you. And again, Dustin Gutowski, socials, and you've been listening to the Red Mike Podcast.